Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder on this sunny February 27th, 2022. Hello, my name is Laurel Sepla-Etra, and I'm very pleased to be your worship leader for today's service. We welcome all at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. All of you are welcome, and all of you are sacred. Whatever your past was like, whatever this present moment is like for you, we invite you to journey into the future together. I have a couple of announcements this morning. If you are a newcomer interested in learning more, I invite you to our next new member class. Stop by on March 6th from 12:30 to 2:30 to learn more about the church, membership, and to enjoy a tasty lunch. A summer retreat 2022. Time to save the dates for our return to community summer retreat at Highlands Camp, August 26th to 28th. If you are online, please join Mary Clough in breakout room after service, or if you are here, join Sharon Ballou in the Sky Room after the service. Welcome to all of you who are joining us via the magic of the internet. The chat box will be open if you need to get a message to us. And if you are a new online visitor, please email and let us know how you found us. You will find the office email listed in the Zoom chat. Our church website also has a great deal of information about us, our programs, and our activities. Please ensure your microphones remain muted as you join with others gathered for worship. I'm delighted to welcome our guest preacher this morning. The Reverend Elizabeth Mount is a UU minister who currently serves the First UU Church of Indiana, Pennsylvania. As a lifelong UU, Reverend Elizabeth has seen the transformative possibility of our religious communities and is excited to create community, work for justice, deepen spiritual formation, and engage diversity through preaching and spiritual formation work in our congregations. Prior to entering seminary, they were an organizer with environmental and Latina community projects in Western North Carolina, the Appalachian coalfields, and the highlands of Guatemala. They currently participate in work on climate change, anti-racism, and disaster relief within and beyond Unitarian Universalism, and serve as a member of the UUA's Board of Trustees.
Our call to worship this morning is by John O'Donohue. May this place shelter your life. When you come home here, may all the weight of the world fall from your shoulders. May your heart be tranquil here, blessed by the peace the world cannot give. May this be a lucky place where the grace your life desires always finds a pathway to your door. May nothing destructive ever cross this threshold. May this be a safe place, full of understanding and acceptance, where you can be as you are, without the need of any mask of pretense or image. May this be a place of discovery, where the possibilities that sleep in the clay of your soul can emerge to deepen and refine your vision for all that is yet to come to birth. May it be a house of courage, where healing and growth are loved, where dignity and forgiveness prevail. A home where patience of spirit is prized, and the sight of the destination is never lost. Though the journey be difficult and slow, may there be great delight around this hearth. May it be a house of welcome for the broken and diminished. So may you find welcome as we come together in sacred space to share in worship.
Please rise in body or spirit. Join us in singing our opening hymn, which is found on your lyric sheet, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of a sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Thank you for coming to this holy place. Today's wisdom story is adapted from a Unitarian Universalist storybook called A Lamp in Every Corner. It is a wisdom tale set in Transylvania, a heritage home of the Unitarian tradition. It goes something like this. Long, long ago, up in the mountains of Transylvania, the people in their small village, high on the hill surrounded by trees, noticed their need for a sacred space. Having no Unitarian church nearby, they decided they would build one together. First, they chose carefully a beautiful place on the side of the hill overlooking a wooded stream, and there they laid a foundation to begin their work. And the stonemasons chiseled out great blocks of gray stone and set them into stout and sturdy walls. As the walls rose, the glaziers made tiny glass panes and fitted them neatly into windows along leaded lines. The foresters sawed down tall beech trees and made trusses for the ceiling, covering the roof with close-fitted wooden shingles so that not a drop of rain would come inside. The carpenters carved a pair of wide opening doors hung on strong pegs, smooth and square. And a bell was brought from a faraway city, hoisted by ropes to the top of a tower. And then the weavers wove fine cloths for the altar table, embroidered them with flowers, edged them with lace. And the blacksmiths hammered black iron into tall lampstands and set thin bronze into shining oil lamps. And finally, the church was all built and painted in beautiful designs and colors, and all the people of the village stopped to admire it, and then to sing a song of happiness and praise. Their village had a church now, set on the hillside and looking down upon them, just as a parent looks down upon their sleeping child. An elder announced, "We'll eat now," because everyone was hungry after their long day's work. And later tonight, we'll come back to pray. So home they went, one and all, except a little girl named Zora and her father, who decided to stay at the steps of the church and to eat their bread and cheese together there. And as they ate together, the sun began to set, and they appreciated the beauty all around. But suddenly Zora's eyes grew wide, and she exclaimed, "Father, we have not finished the church. Inside there are beautiful lampstands, but there are no lamps there. The church will be dark when people return." "Don't worry," said her father. "The light of the church comes from its people. You shall see." And sure enough, as they waited together on the solid steps of that little stone church, in the distance, they could see small points of light bobbing and flickering like stars in the night, and growing larger as they approached. "Each family is entrusted with a lamp, little one," her father explained. "Each family lights their own way here." "So, where is our family's lamp?" asked Zora. "Your mother is carrying it. She will be here soon." And sure enough, twinkling like stars, flowing like a stream, those lights approached and grew and twinkled as people filled the church. The light brightened and shone over the songs and the prayers of all of the people. And so they celebrated and shared in sacred space. And then they went home, each to their own houses, each carrying a lamp to light their way. Just before bedtime, Zora spoke to her mother, saying, "Father said the light of the church comes from its people, but also then the people take the light from the church." Over the table by the fireplace, indeed, the shiny bronze lamp was still burning. "Yes, indeed," said her mother, "and even when we are not in church, even when the lamp is not lit. We carry the light of truth in our minds and the flame of love in our hearts to show us the right way to be. That light, the light of truth and love, will never go out. And so it was. Zora came to be a caretaker of her family's lamp and kept it polished and cared for. And in time, she made lamps for her children and they for their own children. And so the light grew, and truth and love were shared, bringing the light of the people to the church and the light of the church to the people from that day until this.
If you are joining us online and have a candle or chalice near your computer, please get ready to light it. We invite you to type into the chat box where your chalice is lit, the street or neighborhood, or what city if you're joining us from outside Boulder County. I'd like to invite Clyda Stafford to light this morning's chalice.
Good morning. The theme for February's services has been widening the circle. And most of you, I'm sure, saw the picture on the weekly messenger that came to you every week of this still pool of water where something had been dropped in the middle. You all did it as a kid. And the concentric circles ripple out. Those circles grow larger as they ripple out. To me, that image is a metaphor for all that this church does, either as a church or as we as individuals, to widen the circle of community, of UUC values, and spiritual connection. Our programs ripple out, creating a great circle of caring, much beyond our church. Within our church circle, many activities like the covenant groups, youth groups, book clubs, circle suppers and wise elders help individuals here widen their circle of friendships and deepen their spirituality. In a much wider circle, more than 4 years ago, out of a strong conviction for social justice and compassion to welcome strangers, UUCB became a sanctuary church for Ingrid and her family, an effort that involved other churches and individuals in a far wider community than just UUCB. In fact, it reached all the way to Congress when our local congressman became involved in Ingrid's immigration issues on a congressional level. The Share Our Plate program supports nonprofit organizations that work in the Boulder community and beyond to provide humanitarian services that reflect UU values. The Climate Action Committee partners with the larger Colorado Climate Action Group on both the state and federal level to work for environmental protection and justice and for mitigation of climate change. The TP raisers from UUCB travel usually twice a year to the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota, taking donated food and all kinds of supplies for the Lakota Sioux people. The group works for days, laboring at chores such as repairing homes, chopping wood, and organizing donated supplies that will then be distributed around the reservation. In the mid-1990s, UUCB joined the UUA's initiative of welcoming churches. And by so doing, our congregation committed to being a church that welcomes the LGBTQ community in all that we do. These programs are only a few, of course, of the programs that this church has. But these are the many ways that reaching out completes that circle for us by enriching those in this congregation with spiritual fulfillment and empathy. So this morning, I light the chalice to honor all the work of this UUCB community and the individuals within it who work so hard of their own valuable time to widen the circle of love, compassion, peace, and environmental and social justice.
We now invite all those gathered in your various locations to join together in fellowship and community as we all say aloud together our congregation's covenant. We gather in fellowship to speak truth to each other, to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to seek the truth divine. So be it.
I invite you now into a time of meditation. For today we are gathered in sacred space, space made holy by our awareness, our choice to become aware of its magic, of the potential of every space, to act as a home for our highest ideals and our best intentions. In this moment, let us invite ourselves to know our own bodies as well as a home of the sacred. I invite you into sacred space to find a light within yourself and help it grow. I invite you first to look around this space. Notice some element, a quirk of the light, a movement in the flame, a stone or a drape of cloth where there is beauty and harmony. If you are joining us online, use the physical space where you are now. Find some peace within it. Know that it too is made sacred because you are there with sacred intention. So let us all breathe together in that place of noticing, letting yourself be moved by beauty, by the knowledge that each small piece of this physical space is part of a greater whole. And now let your mind move through that noticing into a remembrance of other sacred spaces and imagining, as we continue our practice together, letting your gaze soften or your eyes close, bringing to mind a place that embodies the sacred, whether real or imagined. Notice details of beauty, of harmony, the play of light and shadows, feelings of warmth or cool, stillness or sound. Just breathe and notice. Breathe and feel. Breathe and let your awareness expand. Let yourself find safety. Feel beauty. Become peaceful. And drift in calm. And in that space of sacred memory, I now invite you to notice the light, where it shines and flickers or dances. To let the light in your sacred imagination begin to grow and wash away the shadows, intensifying bit by bit. Let yourself fill with the feelings of light and love. As you allow that light to grow in your imagination, notice the warmth within yourself, filling your chest with each breath, moving into your limbs with each beating of your heart. Let that light of your imagination grow, merging with those around you in this space, flooding outward like waves and merging with those joining you online and in the sanctuary, near and far, filling and flooding, suffusing this space and our consciousness, and settling to a warm and pulsing glow, following your breath and the beating of your heart. As we come back, settling into ourselves, enjoying our awareness of place, of one another, of our own peace-filled and loving spirits. Ritual is an outward expression of inward experience. We invest ritual with a meaning that wells up from within and beyond us. It moves in both directions. Ritual changes and transforms us in the process. On the table in front of the pulpit, there's a tray and a bowl. The tray is filled with ordinary, extraordinary dirt, earth formed of 1,000 generations of cottonwood and aspen leaves, watered by snowmelt and thunderstorms, sometimes burned by fire, mulched by buffalo and prairie dogs. This is the land of the Ute and the Arapaho peoples. It is sacred earth. The bowl contains stones from the Boulder Creek, little pieces of mountains, their rough edges smoothed by time and water and motion. For those meeting together in person today, I invite you to come forward as you feel so moved, to silently take a stone and place it into the earth, to symbolize your joys and your cares, taking their place as part of a larger whole, mingling with each other, held in the hand of the earth. As the music continues, you may form a line off to my left as you feel comfortable, or raise your hand and I will place a stone for you. If you are gathering with us online, I invite you to share in the chat, remembering that it is a publicly shared space. So for all these blessings and concerns, and those that remain silently in our hearts, let us hold this compassionate space with love. Thank you for all the ways that we bless each other.
Make us all where we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary. Make us all where we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary. Make us all where we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary.
So what makes a place sacred? The thing about sacred space is that any holy site becomes sacred in relationship to people. Though we need not physically change a space to acknowledge that we have found the divine presence there, we often do, sometimes in grand community projects like building a church, sometimes small individual gestures placing one careful stone, making a bit of art, removing some refuse, or pruning a branch with care. Whether or not action is taken, it is in the relationship and the intention formed by human beings noticing and pausing to celebrate the beauty and specialness of a unique place, that space becomes transformed. Natural or human-made, it turns from something pretty into holy ground in that moment. Felix Adler says, "The place where we meet to seek the highest is holy ground." Our transcendentalist ancestors would certainly encourage us to seek those places in nature where creation and growth is already abundant. It is easy to notice the beauty and wonder in life when you are there. Outdoors, perhaps here on a mountaintop, watching snow spread down in the valley below, where the wind is crisp, or deep in a canyon where a waterfall creates mist to nurture tiny flowers and bits of moss each spring. Maybe out your own window, seeing a tree, flat irons, a small flower, a ray of light that reminds you that creation is here with you in this moment. In our wisdom story today, we heard of that reflection, finding beauty and then creating holy ground through the efforts of human beings working together to create a place for song and joy, to share in love, to acknowledge our inmost spirit, to remind ourselves and one another of our highest ideals, and to reach for them, to feel the breath of human emotion, and to be given space, to know that we are important beyond our productivity, to rest in community and find our inherent worth once again. For it is not only the relationship to nature, it is the act of shared creation that invites us to holy ground, to that place, to this place. We may bring our light to renew it and carry it with us back into the world, ready for what is yet to come. A core and foundational goal of healthy religious communities is to ground us in a shared perception of sacred place so that we can find safety, peace, calm, to practice living our values together and remind ourselves and one another of our common humanity. Thus, nearly 2 years ago at the start of this pandemic, ministers and leaders of faith communities all over the world found themselves wrestling urgently with this question of what makes a place and a time sacred, how to sustain holy spaces of their people when the communities which form the foundation and bring that light could no longer be physically present with one another for shared worship. We asked, what is the core? What is that special quality of holiness that changes any space from ordinary and mundane to that reserved and set aside for special purpose, which is sacred? What is it that changes a table into an altar, transforms a meeting room into a sanctuary, reshapes our perceptions of space so that this place becomes set aside for more than the mundane, the everyday? Is that only achievable in places where physical space can be reserved, like a church, a meditation room? Or can we create sacred presence through the internet, on computers and tablets, through voice and song, in homes, in parked cars, wherever people can find a moment to pay attention? The answer, which we found, which we remembered had always been so, of course, was yes. The holy moves through us without ceasing, through all creation, because it is the relationship of intention. Neither the place nor the person creates the sacred alone. It is the bond of community which grows when we choose to be with one another. Not only human community, but relationships between us and the place where we are. When we acknowledge our prayerful and meditative times as part of a greater human community and a chosen association of people working together to bring values and ideals into being through the power of love, through the choice to be courageous. Universalist preacher Hosea Ballou wrote, "If we agree in love, there is no disagreement that can do us any injury. But if we do not, no other agreement can do us any good." And so, Ballou said, let us endeavor to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bonds of peace. This, he found foundational, that unity, that love, it can be found anywhere we are, because it is in all of creation. From the very beginning of time, we are all made of star stuff. This week, of course, I think none of us have been so outside of the news cycle that we are not thinking about the invasion of the Ukraine. One of the reasons, I think, that this is weighing so heavily upon the hearts of so many is that sacred space, that space in which love grows and thrives most easily, is a space which requires safety. Growth can happen. Creativity can come alive when there is enough safety to trust that we can stretch, that we can be uncomfortable without being in danger, so that we are not overwhelmed by fear. To approach the holy is to acknowledge that we are small in the face of what is grand and amazing, awe-inspiring and mysterious beyond our reckoning. And to do that, to allow ourselves to be racked by that great force, needs to happen in trust, in a sanctuary, a place set from chaos. So this, this denial of safety, this denial of human space for relationship and trust and love. This is why we condemn any invading force. Not, as I have seen in some of our news cycles on social media, not because it is a prosperous or a productive place, not because the people are good workers, because place is sacred. People deserve those sacred places to be everywhere. It's denial, the denial of the fundamental human right that we are so certain of here, to be safe enough to reach out. That denial is a violence upon the human spirit that has no place in this world. So here we are to remember that we are so privileged simply to exist together, to be part of creation, to be part of groups that do one little thing after another, as Clyda reminded us, to create justice, to build a better world, to bring our light beyond this sanctuary. For once we have created the sacred among us, once we have found our light and grown it in community, we can take it forth. We can spread our value in this sacred place. We can acknowledge our shared love and the commonalities behind and through our unique individuality and our common humanity beyond borders. As seekers of meaning, we can find the holy to give us courage. This is what Madeleine L'Engle and other Christian philosophers have called kairos. It is the sacred time outside of chronological time when the divine moves through our intention, binding together beginnings and endings into sacred circles, creating through lines between ancestors and generations not yet imagined into being. And a holy place is formed through light and shadow, through sound and stillness, through the opening of an eternal moment in which past and present, reality and imagination, divine and mundane, lose their sharp boundaries and become part of the holy all that is possible and which is becoming. creative space, holy ground, that which ties us to everything and everyone. So I invite you here now, today, to find and remember love and light, to bring it with you into the world, knowing that the ground you are upon in every moment is part of the sacred, ready to awaken in response to your perception of it. Recall the words of Alice Walker saying, "Love, if it is love, never goes away. It is embedded in us like seams of gold in the earth, waiting for light." Be ready for the holy. Create it in love and take it far beyond the walls of this place. For the holy goes with you and in you, and you are a sanctuary already made, ready to offer sanctuary to one another. You are creation, aware of itself, loving its own forms in infinite variation, in all the artistry of the universe. You can become a blessing. You are a blessing unto the world. Bring your sacred presence. Create sacred space. That is enough.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. 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 The
Before the offertory, I have a couple more announcements. The 2 p.m. gathering with Reverend David and s'mores is canceled today, but it will be rescheduled. Also, I regret to announce that Rebecca Struick, longtime member, died February 9th at Fraser Meadows. She was 93. Her service will be May 7th at 2 p.m. at Fraser Meadows. This month, our offering goes to SPAN, Safe House Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence. Let me share one story of a person that SPAN has served. Laura identifies as Latina, a documented immigrant whose primary language is Spanish. She was married to a white U.S. citizen for several years. They have one child, a 3-year-old son with autism. After suffering years of abuse, Laura made the decision to leave. She stayed at SPAN's emergency shelter with her son during this time. She received advocacy and counseling services to help her through the difficult process. Sadly, the abuse continued after leaving as they continued co-parenting. A particularly violent incident occurred during a child exchange where he punched her in the head, grabbed her by her hair, and knocked her to the ground. He then aggressively took the child out of her car and threatened not to return the child. With help from SPAN advocates, Laura took steps to file for a civil protection order, a PO, and was connected with a free attorney through SPAN's lawyer for victims program to represent her in the PO, which was ultimately granted. The attorney then agreed to represent her for free with a divorce and custody case. This was critical as her abuser had controlled all the finances and told her she would never get custody. She is currently working with a SPAN counselor and SPAN's Transitional Services Housing Team to find secure housing and access resources. SPAN offers support and services that provide healing, hope, and opportunity to adults, youth, and children who have been impacted by domestic or dating violence, are seeking resources or information, or are questioning unhealthy aspects of their relationship. From crisis intervention to shelter, legal advocacy, and outreach counseling services, SPAN provides victims of interpersonal violence in Boulder and Broomfield counties with the support and services needed to offer safety, hope, and healing. Reaching out for support and navigating the resources available in your community can be difficult. SPAN is a great place to start your journey towards safety, hope, and healing. Find out how to get the support you need. I invite you to give as generously as you are able. You can make a donation now using the link posted in our chat by sending a check to UUCB or scanning the QR code on the next slide with your mobile phone. And if you are here in the sanctuary, our ushers will now take the offering. May our gifts be used to enact justice, bringing peace and love to the Boulder community.
Though we now extinguish our chalice flame, the light of truth and love we know can never be put out. For in every heart is a will to love, in every mind a search for truth. Through every spirit a thread of connection, seeking relationship, renewing sacred space, until we are together once more.
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way. Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way.
Thank you all who have gathered here this morning. We invite you, if you are online, to stay with us in our Zoom rooms for a time of online fellowship and discussion.